being able to shape those characteristics, to manage them, finding their own way, but in a more subtle and more beneficial way to the whole team. And that I can kind of look at it as one of the main challenges. And the rest are, especially in Iran, and especially since I think my experience during these past couple of years, it's very young and it's very product oriented. I know what Max was saying about technology versus product is very correct, but even when they have that, they fall in love with the product, and mostly young entrepreneurs tend to forget these important things surrounding a product that creates an organization, that makes it grow. Things like branding, marketing, HR, legal, and most importantly, organizational culture, creating that culture from within, from themselves, for growing the team. So I think those things, those human elements are in my
Thank you, thanks. I'm coming to Max. Max has been running an accelerator in a very emerging market in Bulgaria. How do you think we can change this scene, and what has been your experience?
Right. I mean, it's always very complicated in the beginning to attract people to startups, and this goes both for founders and for investors. One of the things that we've been doing in Bulgaria, and I can't really say that we've been very successful yet, but it's a big topic everywhere in Eastern Europe and also in the Middle East, is converting, it's a bad word, I guess, dumb capital to smart capital, or converting existing capital to startup capital. It's not a secret that most of the money in our society is in real estate, in retail, and if you look historically in places where startups have already been evolving for years or for decades, like America or like Western Europe, London, places like this, you see that the existing businesses are actually very much involved with startups, right? So you see a lot of, for instance, domain angels, right? Someone who is, I was talking to some of the teams here yesterday, right? Find angels who are from your domain. There is a company here that's going to be pitching that does real estate listings. Try to get a real estate company or a person who owns such a company to invest in your company. This is, I think, one of the steps that has to be taken, because right now what we see a lot is that startups and investors in startups are considered to be kind of a class apart, right? Basically, like, dumb people that are dumb enough to invest in startups. But we need to change that, right? We need to get a lot of the existing capitals, existing businesses into investing in startups.
Thank you so much. Going back to Ms. Saadat, I mean, Sarava is a quite massive player, and you guys have been investing in startups, both at very late stage, coming down to the seed stage. When it comes to investing, of course, one of the biggest questions that everyone is faced with, I'm going to make the question a bit hard here, but one of the biggest questions that everybody is faced with is, at the end, it's going to be an investment. Although, like, you're passionate to see the team success, but when it comes to investment, everybody is asking this question: that what is the exit? Where can we come out as an investor? And I would like to get the perspective of Sarava on the exit topic.
I think that investing in startups is really someone who has that long-term vision. Somebody who's looking at 5 to 7 years. I mean, if we're looking at some investment where we're looking for an exit in a couple of years, then I don't think we're in the right place. At Sarava, we have really encouraged in order to build the ecosystem, and I think sometimes it has been a challenge in terms of our investments. Is our role to expand the ecosystem, or is it necessarily that we're investing in the best teams? So overall, I would say that we've kind of tried to do a balance between the two. I think in the Iranian society, we're kind of dealing with generally a kind of paternalistic, very supportive environment, whereas in Silicon Valley is very much it's whoever is the best team, who's got the best idea. It's like pretty much the Darwinian theory, like that team will win. So we are trying to bring the two together, and I think at Saraba we've tried to support the startups to do what they need to do. I mean, exit is there, it's on the horizon, but I don't think our startups or our founders are in this, because of, they're not thinking about the exit every day. I really sense that there is a passion, with the founders, with the co-founders of the teams, and that's also the passion that we at Saraba have for working with these startups. I think the exit is going to happen, but I think it will take a while, and also I think we do need government support. Maybe there might be ways of, for example, creating, a special fund for exits down the road, trying to get offline businesses, conglomerates interested to kind of link somehow their experience, their market reach with the online, and effectively, I mean, we'd be looking at their first exits to be more or less like domestic exits. I don't think we're looking at, the equivalent, American company or European company necessarily coming here. I definitely think that the same way that we're doing the startups here in a homegrown situation, we also need to think of the exits in a homegrown fashion as well.
Thank you, thanks. We're gonna go to Amir, who is Iranian, who hasn't been living in Iran for any time, but he's been in Berlin, he's been in Dubai, he's been working with different startups, especially at the early stages. So we had last year Samer here, who was Samer Karim from Sequence, who was from Lebanon, who was saying that learning how to invest in startups, especially angel investment, is like riding a bike. So you may get hurt and it's okay, but you can't read it in theory and you can't really learn it. So you have to be ready for failure, you have to be ready for pains, you have to be ready for sophistication. But we would like to hear about your experience at Beko Capital on dealing with entrepreneurs who at some point might even look not very prepared, or even like we may have the situation where the investment we're getting sophisticated. So can you explain on that, please?
Sure, gladly. So in our case at Beko Capital, we're a group of 5 investment professionals who have started cumulatively 12 companies before, 6 of which were successful exits, one of which is actually the biggest job listings marketplace, in the Middle East, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth. And I think that experience of having done it before creates a sort of, I really want to use the word empathy. When you're developing a relationship with an entrepreneur and you can say, you know what, I know what it feels like to be making those mistakes because I've made them before. And look at this scar and look at that scar because I fell on that bike. So I know that it takes time. Let's work together. And I think that gives us and people like, the investors at Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, Saraba, sort of the ability to be collaborative rather than dictatorial, rather than authoritative, and say, you know what, let's take this easy. I know what it takes, and I know what you need to do, but I also know that it takes time. And I think that is something that is difficult to develop, and it requires experience, it requires patience, which is something that, kind of to come back to Shiva's point, you need to have if you want to be successful in this business. And if you don't have it, then, sorry to be so blunt about it, get out of it, because you're going to do more harm than good.
Thank you, thanks. Rami, we've been talking so much, and you have been always passionate to change the way that startups, especially at seed stage, and those passionate entrepreneurs who really have a dream and they want to catch that. You always were passionate on how we can change the access of capital, and not only capital, but the experience that can flow into that startup and can change their path. And that intention turned to creating this angel network. And you have been an angel investor yourself, recently did participate in a deal. So I would like to, because here we have also entrepreneurs that are dealing with angels, not only investors. So I would like you to talk to entrepreneurs and tell them that what topics they have to take into consideration when dealing with angel investor, what they should know.
So, hi everyone. As an angel investor, when I talk to an entrepreneur, one of the first things that I want to see is passion. I want them to be excited about what they're creating. I want them to have that sparkle. And before getting into any valuation, I want to see them be able to articulate what they want to do. They should be able to. They should be able to convey to me. They should be able to convey what the products they're building, what the service they're offering, and what they plan to do with this prototype. If they have a working prototype, if they have an MVP, that would be great. But passion, being able to articulate what they want to do, and that elevator pitch. They should be able to. They should be able to see 1 year ahead. They should be able to give me some sort of cost, what their burn rate is going to be. I don't want to see a 100-page business plan, but I want to see a 1-page summary, which they can talk about the market, what the product they're building, and how they want to enter this into, how they want to make money from this. They should be able to convey these. But one of the most important other factors that I bring into play is if a team is passionate about what they're doing, and if they're a great team, I will support them even if they're selling balloons, because the team that I invested in, they were so passionate about what they were building from day one. It was hard to ignore. So it's if I want to pinpoint these into 3 main topics, is one, first and foremost, be passionate about what you're doing. Second of all, be able to articulate your product and your what you want to achieve. And 3, be able to give me a set of costs that you will incur in the next year.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up the panel, and I'm just going to quickly ask everyone to first of all talk to a specific audience. So I'm going to choose an audience for each of you guys, and then if you're free to say whatever you want to say. But we start with Arash, and I would like you to give your message to other angel investors who are willing to come to this scene and who are willing to invest in startups. And you are free to say whatever you want to say.
Okay. Well, I don't know what I want to say at the angel level. I think I had a couple of experiences firsthand with mentorship. I think it's very important to give that emotional support that team that you're investing on. I think those guys are not looking at us in a like just a big ATM, a pocket full of money. They really have other kind of expectations, and we have to fulfill that. And sometimes investors overall tend to forget that. I think this kind of investing is an investing with responsibility. It's not just any kind of investing. And I think that's it. Everything.
How was your experience in the past investments you have done? Can you share that?
As far as my personal
your own experience, your own feeling. I mean, it has only been a while since you did the investment, but
well, through Avatech, through accelerators and stuff, because that the ego thing that I talked about. The companies, the startups that start organically outside of these environments tend to be more easier per se, but as far as through accelerators and through these environments, my personal experience has been mostly pride, because that the added value is important, and I've been seeing that what you guys are doing and what me and my couple of partners that we do the investments together are doing and adding to that companies. And what Shiva said, if you're not looking short term, it's all going to be good and positive.
Thanks. Shivajan, I think Salvo has always been emphasizing and was always open to look for other investors who are interested to come and join on the deal, and you were trying to always pursue the co-investment mentality and doing it together. Can you emphasize on that and the message that you have to other investors?
We're still encouraging the co-investment mentality. But from our experience in the cycle of one round, we found that it took quite a long time to actually get all the legal documents in place, to kind of go through the logistics of getting the investors on board. So the founders' experience from round one was that perhaps it took them a bit longer to get the investment from everyone, as compared to the situation where maybe they would have got the funding from one source. So one of the things that we're looking at is launching a fund where investors can come in jointly, and the process will be much quicker because we would have already set up the legal structure for the fund. And so that way I think the founders will find it easier and they can get the funds quicker. Last time we thought it would take maybe a month or so, but it actually took a little while longer. I mean, we still encourage the co-investment if there is a strategic reason for it, but we're definitely more and more looking at the option of the funds, and we've been discussing it with various stock exchange authorities, everyone here, to see what the structure would be.
Thank you. Ramajan, if you can also explain a little bit about the network of angel investors you guys have built, and if you have a message on that to people who are interested to join that network.
So basically, our angels is in the long term, it's going to be a group of highly motivated individual investors interested in investing in the seed stage or very early stage of startups. The reason that this should be done by a group of investors is, first and foremost, is synergy. You've heard this term many times, but once it comes to this stage of investment, because of the risks involved, many investors would like to syndicate. They want to share knowledge. They can bring in expertise on a particular subject. The legal work and everything is so cost-effective once you do this in a group that I highly encourage anyone who's interested in angel investing to join an angel group. It will be much more to the benefit of the investor in the long term. Because although being an angel investor, you have that smart money helping, and you have that philanthropy in your mind, but this is not charity. You ultimately you want to do this for business reasons. So by joining a group, you will decrease many of your risks, which may not be directly from investing, but from the support systems related to your investments. Thank you.
Thanks. Sergey, if you can give the message to entrepreneurs as the audience on what to do when it comes to dealing with investors.
It's a good question, actually. So I think the most important thing is have passion, but also have something to show for it. So there is no stronger argument than growth numbers of key KPIs. Because at that point, it's really not so much about like you approaching investors, it's about investors chasing you. And that's ideally the situation you want to be in. You want to be in a situation where you can choose and pick the best investor that suits you, rather than being desperate to take money at any valuation. In order to do that, focus on delivering. In order to deliver, work on something you're passionate about, where 24/7 you're working on it, where in the middle of the night, you always have a notebook right by the side of your bed, because you know you will wake up dreaming about it, writing a note about it, waking up the next morning and wondering what you were thinking and what you were dreaming about. But if you get to that stage, I think it's very likely that there is going to be smart investors that you can partner up with that want to help you grow it into something that is impactful, meaningful, and an actual business. So, passion to lead to KPIs that get us very excited and make us run after you is the best thing you can do.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Next, we do have some people who are from government, or also we do have people who are community builders, who are working very passionately in the community to grow it and to improve the whole ecosystem here. I would love to hear your message to them.
The message, well, first of all, government, the main thing it has to do is to stay out of the way, right? So if there are any ways to make it easier for startup founders, help, remove a bunch of those blocked websites. I know that social networks for certain reasons are blocked here, but I've also noticed that a lot of business tools, like Slack, for instance, which is one of the main communication channels now in startups, doesn't work, right? So make it easier for startups to do their thing, because they're not out there to destroy anything, they're actually trying to build stuff. For community organizers, interact with the world, right? The best way to build a community is to bring people that have already done the things that you're trying to do to your country. You guys are being very good at this. I got a wonderful welcome here. As you mentioned, Samar was here. A bunch of other people that are running events or investment companies in Europe have visited Tehran, visited Avatech, so keep doing that. And I have one final message for the founders. Be honest. Honesty comes in two ways. First of all, they say very often that the startup world is today's version of the rock band, right? It's the large international movement through which people, develop themselves. In the old days, if you were cool, you were playing in a rock band. Nowadays, we're coming into a period where if you're cool, you're doing a startup. Stay away from that noise, right? So you're actually building businesses. Just like the colleague to my right said, it's all about the numbers. Try not to get too involved in this whole kind of startup hype, because it's what it is. It's a hype. So be very honest about what you're doing, why you're doing this. The other point about honesty is also be honest with the information that you receive. Be honest with. Very often, I've noticed this many times with the startups that I've worked with, is that when people like us sitting here on stage talking about experience, I remember myself being a founder, listening to such people and thinking to myself, what he's saying, that doesn't apply to me. It's easy for him to say this. He comes from money, he's been traveling all around, he's been lucky or whatever. It is not true. All these things that you guys are hearing from people that have some experience is really true. And don't discount it towards your own situation, but just take the advice because it's free. Those mistakes have been made already. You don't have to make them. So just focus on honesty.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being part of the panel. Merci.